I notice a lot of men are like gearing towards the younger women. They keep saying like, younger women, less baggage, blah blah blah. Basically, it's another word for being groomed. They want to groom their prey. So basically, the men are going to younger women because of A, they probably have little to no kids. B, they haven't been through enough heartbreak to, notice, the red flags and things, when it's time to go. So they'll probably stay past, the time that they're supposed to be there. And and I guess they're younger, they might have, less this, less that. Their body is probably still tight and right, but that doesn't necessarily mean, the older women are out here looking bad either. Well, it really depends on how old you are. Now, if you 70, 80, then obviously, whatever, whatever. But the point is that they're going for these younger women because they see it less of a challenge. They don't want to have to work for anything. They want, shit to be given to them. They don't want, to like be accountable for their fucking actions because, younger women will probably, forgive you and shit like that. An older woman ain't got time for that. Like you start fucking up, you come in with that bad energy, that broke shit. They're not gonna put up with that. But what men need to understand is that one day these younger women are going to get older, just like the women that are old now. And then once they get older, they're going to get wiser. And then when they start picking up on all the, the bullshit that they're doing to them, eventually they're going to leave too. So while, men think they're one up and, thinking they're doing better by grabbing a 21-year-old woman, like at some point she has to grow up. Like at some point she's going to stop dealing with the bullshit too. And then, now you're back in the motherfucking dating pool looking for something even younger. It's like, it just makes no motherfucking sense. Just tighten up, motherfuckers.
I don't think I think she understands how age gap dating works. Like that gap will remain, right? When she's, if he's 40 and she's 18 or she's 20 in 10 years, the age gap will still be there, right? I like this is one of those things that you cannot legislate, or we're to the point where you can't shame men and their desires. You can't, right? Are there going to be most men aren't going to be able to age gap gate to that extent, but the ones that have the resources will. When you stop giving credence to women, to young women, like they don't have their own eyes, they don't have their own sense. I don't know if you paid attention to any of the young women today, but some of these young women are absolutely vicious in the game. Absolutely vicious in the game. They're in it because, hey, he's older, he can get me the things I want. And the men are saying, yeah, I understand that exchange, and that's fine. That's fine. This is just something that has always happened forever and ever. And this is the first time we've been able to get online and share our opinions about it. So before we tackle this one and get more in depth into it, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new uploads. Sicky series continues. So yeah, in terms of like, this is something that especially in the Black community, is something that's um it's such a touchy subject, right? And you've seen countless debates of people going back and forth saying that these people can't relate, they don't have anything in common. This is when we become very exacting and very, very, meticulous in how we expect people to date. But no one's talking to the younger women and saying you shouldn't be going after these men that are older, right? Go to the source, right? Go to the other part of the source and say, convince these young women that no, you should be going after men your own age, and they'll probably hit you with the very, very reasonable response. He can't do anything for me monetarily, the type of life I want to lead, because we all want to skip the boring, interim parts that require the work, require the hard work to get you from A to B. People want what they want now. Their attention spans are smaller. They have no idea of deferred gratification. So they want what they want today, not in 20 years, not in 30 years. They want it today. What's the easiest way for you to make that happen? And we're just talking in the strict financial sense, right? We're not talking about there. I think there are legit reasons why people do age gap dating, and it works, right? Especially when you look outside the United States, it's more of a common thing that happens. But here, let's just say we're setting aside those people that are just doing it for financial reasons or just doing it because she's young and tight. There are still a few that this is how they like it and this is what works for them and their family. We need to be able to set that aside and say that's fine. For the detractors of this, it's usually young men, or it's older women that are I've seen champion the cause about this, and It's usually calling men weird, calling them creepy, calling them groomers, right? As if we don't have women, young women that have their own thoughts and own ideas. Yes, they're less experienced. They've been hurt less, right? They have less trauma just because it's a function of age and time and experience. So they're more likely to be excited about things, and those are the things that men find endearing. The point is, right? Let's say all this, we hold all this to be true. Like everything she said is true. Now what? Now what? Right? Is the thought that if you get enough men together, you shame enough men, then they won't date younger women. They'll be more available for older women. Because she goes on to say, well, it's not like older women, their bodies aren't tight. This is just, it's not really an argument that I think she personally holds. And why do I say that? Because the arguments are, the defense of them are all over the place. The fact is, if we should all be doing what we want to do as long as we're consenting adults, right? And our involvement in someone else's life and their own affairs should stop right there, right? Right at that point. Consenting adult, cool, move on. Um, because there's never a way that you're going to make this make sense where both sides, both parties are satisfied, right? Women and men are going to feel differently about this depending where they are in life. Again, no one is going to these younger women saying, stop dating older men and being truthful about it. If we were truthful with the reasonings behind it, saying it's difficult for us to date as is, we cannot compete with you physically. I'm not saying that is a true reason because I've never heard it truthfully be said outside of, yeah, they're young and their bodies are tighter and then moving on. But if that's important to men, that's important to men. If that matters to them, if that younger effervescent sort of springtime sort of appeal is there, and men are saying they want that and they can't get it from older women, and this is not to put the blame on either side of it. They're saying because life grinds you down, like life saps you of that magic, that spirit that makes you exciting and endearing to be around. Again, genderless, right? But if you're saying that you can capture that because someone younger hasn't been exposed to the ills and the workings of going to work at a job you hate, multiple failed relationships, watching friends and loved ones, shift off the mortal coil, and those things take away from you. You're not, right? You're not who you were 20 years ago. I'm talking that just type in spirit and excitement. You're not that, right? You've become who you've become to survive the 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 rigors of the day, and that's who you are today. Not saying you're a worse person. You're different, and that different person, may be harder to deal with relationally. That's a natural consequence of just living. So if men say all things being equal, right? I want this someone that's younger because I like that. I like that spirit. I like that energy. If I could bottle it and drink it daily, I would, but I can't. This is the next best thing. And she's looking, saying he's experienced, he's mature, he's done things, and I find that attractive. When we come and try to interject our own beliefs and what we think should happen, that this is the way it should be, we're really just wasting our time because I don't think anyone that's involved that seriously believes in age gap dating cares what we have to say about it. I don't think anyone cares what we have to say about it. Men have stopped, and I think this is the next trend we're going to see, or that we're witnessing. More and more men simply just don't care about being like shame has lost the sting. Oh, you shouldn't do that. That's bad. They don't care. They don't care. Oh, passport bros. They don't care. You guys are just doing. They don't care. They don't care. Right? You can only crack that whip of shame so long before people just numb to it. You flailed off all the skin that could be flailed. No one cares. So you're going to have to find a better way to convince older men to not date. And the best way is for you to be a better match for them. That's it. That's it. Right? Hang on to that mysterious, that liveliness, that excitement, that energy. Right? Do well with letting your baggage lay where you find it, or where you last carried it, and move on. Be better for yourself, and then the world around you benefits from that. you have better options. But shaming men into saying, no, don't do that. Go where you were last unhappy. They're gonna look and say, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And what can you do about it? What can you say? You have no power here. You have no authority here. No, not looking at that and saying this is a viable, good thing. This is a good option. I should listen to what you have to say. They're looking at a post like this and they're moving right on. They're moving right on. Right. So listen, if you think I missed something, let me know down in the comments. This is a topic I find interesting when we try to move the social scales through language. Um, and I think we've seen the heyday in which it was effective, and I think that day is long, long past. If I missed something, let me know. If you see any videos and comments you might be interested in, go take a look. Drop your comment on that one too. I'll see you in the next one.